Welcome to the Auto Express guide to the 2015 Geneva Motor Show. Starting here on the Skoda stand and the new Superb, which is looking very good in a bright green colour. Now there's loads of people, as you can see, photographing and filming this car. Obviously it's a very important vehicle, but there might be another reason why it's so popular. I can't think what it is. There are always some interesting concepts at Geneva. Now this is one of them. It's called the EDAG Light Cocoon, and the car's structure has actually been 3D printed and it's covered in this lycra material. So you've got this lightweight honeycomb structure, this lycra material that's waterproof and weatherproof, keeps the car nice and light, and the idea is that people will be able to make very limited run production cars out of this system. Okay then, it's time for something a little bit more sensible, and we're here on the Volkswagen stand with the new Touran. So it's a mid-size MPV. It's based on the MQB platform, which underpins the Golf, and it should feel pretty much just like the Golf to drive. It looks sharper than the old Touran. We've got some bolder creases in the bonnet and down the side, and these big lights which follow on from the Golf. Inside, it actually seems quite plush. It's quite a nice interior. And of course it's a 7-seater, but if you don't want to carry 7 passengers, you can fold those rear seats down to have a big boot. Now on to something else from Volkswagen. And here we have the new Passat All-Track. Now you know how this thing works now, don't you? Take a Passat estate, you jacket the suspension slightly, fit some body rubbing strips down the side, make it look a little bit more rough and rugged, give it some 4-wheel drive and a modicum of off-road ability, and there you go. The third new car on the Volkswagen stand is the new Touran. Well, I say new, it's actually just a facelift. So Volkswagen has revised the looks ever so slightly, freshened up the interior, given it a new infotainment system and some fresh engines. But let's move on to something a little bit more exciting. Well, here it is, the Volkswagen Sport Coupe Concept GTE. Now, considering this is the most exciting car on the Volkswagen stand, they've managed to write the least about it in their crib notes, and all they're saying basically is the Sport Coupe Concept GTE champions a new progressive Volkswagen design language. The concept combines exclusive sports car design with 4-door body and large boot lid. Concept utilises a plug-in hybrid drive, TSI petrol plus 2 electric motors. It's got innovative all-wheel drive, which operates via an electric prop shaft, whatever that means. Really, all you need to know about this car is that the design of it is pretty much going to be the new CC, which will go on sale next year. One of the things I love about the Geneva Motor Show is just a mishmash of these smaller companies that you have, such as, well, it's the Swiss version of the AA. It's their magazine. Anyway, then you turn around over there and you've got Sparrow with their crazy bespoke sports cars, which just, they're a little bit weird. And then you move over here, not too far, and you've got the Spania GTA. Have a look at this. Some crazy hypercar. I think you have to be very, very rich to put your money into something like that. And then you just walk along for a bit, and there's a random engine just there for, it's obviously for the GTA, and then yeah, it's not particularly politically correct, the Geneva Motor Show. I don't like it for that. The big news on the Opel stand is the new Opel Karl. Don't worry, when it comes to the UK, badged as a Vauxhall, it will be called the Vauxhall Peter. It's actually a lie. It's going to be called the Vauxhall Barry. The Vauxhall Barry. Now that's a lie as well. It's going to be called the Vauxhall Viva. Now this car actually sits underneath the Adam in the range, and it's their answer to the Volkswagen Up, and it should start from around £7,000 when it goes on sale in spring. This has to be one of the most unusual displays I've seen here in Geneva today. I'm not actually going to tell you what it relates to because the subject matter behind it is actually quite boring, so I'll just let your imagination run wild. It's not often you get a surprise at a motor show these days, but here's one. It's the SEAT 2020. Now it's written 20V20. Don't pronounce the V because it stands for vision, which relates to the fact this is a concept. Now, what exactly does this car suggest? Well, we already know there's going to be a Tiguan size SEAT next year, but this car is bigger, and it suggests there could be an even bigger SUV coming from SEAT with a very sporty slant to it. However, I've been speaking to some people at SEAT, and they also say the design language on this car will be used across all SEATs in future, and it could also hint that SEAT is planning a smaller SUV to rival the Nissan Juke. Motor shows can feel a bit of a treadmill at times, so I'm going to step off this turntable to just take in what has to be the most beautiful car of the 2015 Geneva Motor Show. It's the new Bentley EXP10 Speed 6. Now this car hints that Bentley is planning on doing a two-seater sports car to sit alongside the Continental GT, and if it looks anything like this concept car here, well, it's going to be lovely. It's fine. This is the new Audi R8 V10, and it looks rather like the old Audi R8, doesn't it? Apart from the line's a bit more squared off, and it's got the new side blade design, which I wasn't sure about at first when I saw them in the pictures, but actually in this colour they work. Now this is the V10 Plus model, so it's 5.2 litre V10 engine, churns out 610 horsepower, so yeah, you combine that with the new chassis which is shared with the Lamborghini Huracan, and you've got a fine handling and fine looking sports car. Another new car Audi is showing here in Geneva is the Prologue Avant. Now they've already shown the Prologue, which is, well, a hint of what the future A8 and A6 will look like. This is the estate version, although you probably can't tell for now because there's so many people hiding the bodywork. Hopefully we've got some cutaways which you'll be able to look at it with. But anyway, yeah, this car previews what future estate models of Audi will look like. The third car Audi is showing at the Geneva Motor Show is the Q7 e-tron. Now you can see behind me, the blue car there, looks like a normal Q7, but this is a cutaway of the running gear, and it's quite different than a normal Q7. It's the first Audi hybrid to use a diesel engine, so it's a 3 litre diesel there. You've got an electric motor there. You've got the batteries at the back, obviously quattro all-wheel drive. Now, this car will emit just 50 grams per kilometre of carbon dioxide, and that means it's going to be a hit with directors who have to pay company car tax. This is the new Porsche Cayman GT4, and it's the most extreme Cayman to date. It's got a 3.8 litre flat six engine with 385 horsepower, and it can go from 0 to 60 in just 4.2 seconds. It costs £64,000, and it makes you wonder, why on earth would you need a 911? And then Porsche go and do this to us. They're going to surprise us with the 911 GT3 RS. Now that's got a 4 litre flat six with 500 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, top speed 193 miles an hour. Now this car can go around the Nürburgring in 7 minutes 20 seconds, which I'm told is amazing, and it's 5 seconds faster than a GT3 can do it in. So if a McLaren 650S isn't quite hot enough for you, how about a 675 LT? Obviously based on the 650S, but 33% of the parts are different. It's changes to the 3.8 litre twin turbo V8. Power is up obviously to 675 horsepower. So 0 to 62 miles an hour now takes just 2.9 seconds, while top speed is 205 miles an hour. The car's also 100 kilograms lighter than the 650S, and for all that extra performance and less weight, you have to pay more. This car costs £260,000. Now if you think that's steep, then how about the P1 GTR, which is a track-ready, well, no road-going version of the P1. That is £1.9 million. And there's another catch, you have to already own a normal P1. Shan't be having one of those then. Road cars hardly ever look like the concept cars on which they're supposed to be based, but not so according to Mitsubishi. This is the XR PHEV 2, and it's going to influence the next ASX, which is due out next year. And apparently, according to Mitsubishi, it's going to look very similar to this. You won't have those wacky wing mirrors, nor the crazy alloy wheels, but other than that, the shape is going to remain pretty much the same. There'll also be a PHEV version, only unlike the Outlander, it will just be two-wheel drive because there's not enough space in the boot for a motor at the back to drive the rear wheels. Mitsubishi is also showing the L200 pickup truck here in Geneva, and according to the firm, it is best in class pretty much in every department. So it's the most efficient, it's the most manoeuvrable, it's the lightest pickup in its class, yet it can also carry the most load. So seems like a win-win situation. Well, that's the top floor of the Geneva Motor Show done. Now for the lower floor, and it's even bigger. Well, here we go. It looks like Renault has its own version of the Qashqai, and not before time too. It's called the Kadjar, which is a little bit odd, but I have to say, it does look very nice, doesn't it? Toyota is showing off two world premieres here at Geneva. The first is the facelifted version of the Auris, and you know what, this job makes me feel a little bit old because it only feels like yesterday that the first generation version of this car was released. The second world premiere is over there, and it's the facelifted Avensis. Here on the Lexus stand at Geneva, there's two things I noticed. One is they are playing the loudest music out of any manufacturer. The other thing is that they've got the loudest looking concept car out of any manufacturer, even though it's probably one of the smallest. It's the LF-SA concept, and it's a crazy looking futuristic city car. And what I like about this is there's no production plan behind it. They've just done it for the sheer hell of it. I've absolutely no idea what it is, but I kind of want it. Suzuki is showing off two new production cars here at Geneva. We've got the IK2, which sits above the Swift in the range, and it's about Volkswagen Polo size. But the one that really interests me is this, the IM4. It's an all-new model for Suzuki. It's a very small, well, it's about Swiss size actually, but it's four-wheel drive, and I think it looks pretty good. You know how when the current Micra was unveiled and everyone went, oh, well, Nissan isn't going to let us down with its replacement. This is called the Sway, and it's just a concept for now. But when the replacement for the Micra comes out in 2016, 2017, it's going to look very similar to this car, and it's far more exciting. This is the new Honda HR-V, and it's a Nissan Duke rival that's a bit more practical because, as well as being bigger on the outside, it also gets Honda's clever magic seats, which you can obviously fold flat like that, or pop up like this to walk through the car and go and see something else from Honda that's a little bit more exciting. And here it is, the long-awaited Civic Type R. So under the bonnet you've got a 2-litre turbocharged engine with 310 horsepower, and that drives just the front wheels. There's some clever geometry set up to prevent torque steer and adaptive dampers. And obviously Honda's playing it subtle with this car, you know, with the design. Anyone who buys this, they don't have to worry about the police looking out for them. Not at all. It's very, very discreet. Civic Type R owners don't only have to worry about the police, they have to worry about this car, the Ford Focus RS. It has a 2.3-litre turbocharged engine with 320 horsepower and all-wheel drive. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that battle. Aston Martin has two very different cars on show here in Geneva. First, there's the Vulcan, which is loosely based on the 177. 7-litre V12 tuned up to 800 horsepower, and it's a track-only car, that is. Over here is a concept called the DBX, and, well, it's a crossover Aston Martin, apparently aimed particularly at the ladies. Oh yeah. Geneva would not be Geneva without a brand new Ferrari. And yeah, the design, well, it follows on from the 458, and it's got a bit of the LaFerrari in there as well. Yeah, Ferrari's new V8 mid-engine supercar is here. Well, that's the end of our Geneva show roundup, and I know I've missed a few cars out, but you can still read all about them on the Auto Express website. Anyway, I'm going to leave you now with the new Koenigsegg Regera, which is a 1500 horsepower hybrid which costs a lot of money and does a lot of speed.